Now let's look at one more strategy for making your chord changes a little more quickly. In the first segment, we looked at chord pairs where the two chords actually share a note in common and one finger doesn't have to go anywhere. In the second segment, we looked at chord pairs where one of your fingers will stay on the same string and just slide from one fret to the next. Now this time, we're going to look at what you do when you don't have either of those opportunities. There are still more strategies. When you're changing between two chords that don't have anything in common, do your fingers ever look anything like this? C chord, D chord, C chord. Let's see if we can streamline that a little bit. Let's say I wanted to play the chord C and then the chord D after that. And you see that they don't share any notes in common and there's no sliding to be done. They're two completely different shapes on the fingerboard. But the general principle here is that you want to look for any connections you can find and eliminate any extraneous movements possible. So starting with the C chord, the first connection I'm going to point out is that my ring finger here is in the 3rd fret of the guitar, and it goes to the D chord, it will remain in the 3rd fret. Okay, so I'm going to let that kind of lead off the charge here, and then these guys will go into place. Sometimes it's helpful to track the movements of each finger, sort of like a little choreography exercise. So we've got the ring finger staying in the same fret where it is, going from the 5th string out to the 2nd string. We've got the middle finger staying in the same fret where it is, going from the 4th string out to the 1st string. And we've got the index finger going from here to here, sort of a short little diagonal jump, here to here. Here's my C, and here's my D, very streamlined. When we're going from E to B7, we already know that these two chords do share one note in common. It's the note that's being held down with my middle finger at the 2nd fret of the 5th string, the note B. There's another couple of connections we can take advantage of. One is that this finger, my ring finger, when it goes to B7 is going to just move over by one string, like that, staying right in the same fret. And the index finger will do the same thing, going in the opposite direction, right there, from the 3rd string to the 4th string. And now I've got kind of a little triangle shape here. The last thing to do is pop my pinky into the 2nd fret of the 1st string. And there's the B7. Going back to E, free up the pinky, and then these two guys kind of do a little switcheroo. She goes back there, she goes back there, and there we are. No extraneous flying around, just keep it nice and streamlined. So once again, when you're working with the idea of streamlining, you're looking for any connection between the two chords, any move you can use as kind of your anchor point, as your first move. Let's take a look at one more pair, and that would be G and A. They don't look like they have much in common, and they really don't, but let's take a look at the one finger that has the least far to go when it switches between those two chords, and that would be the index finger. Here it is at the 2nd fret of the 5th string in the G chord, and look where it ends up in the A chord, 2nd fret of the 4th string. So it's only occupying those two spots in this switch. Since that's so easy to find for that finger, I'm going to make that be my first move and let that serve as the anchor point. So we've got G, move this guy over, use it as a pivot, and bring it back. Going back to G, move this here, and back. G, A, G, and A. Keep your eye on my index finger for a moment.